Welcome to the Game Changers Podcast, your connection to the world's most powerful influencers in leadership, personal development, and entrepreneurship. Here's your host, professional athlete, author, speaker, and game changer himself, Rennie Curran. It's time to get your head in the game.
What's up? This is Rennie Curran, former professional athlete, speaker, author, life and business coach, and most of all, game changer. Man, I can't believe it's week 8. We're on week 8 now. Wow. Thank you so much once again for just listening in, whether you're in your car, whether you're at home, whether you're at the coffee shop. Thank you for tuning in. It means so much to me to have you on the show. I just want to start off by just discussing my game changer tip for the week, which really is more of a discussion. How do you have an impact or change the game when you're young? When you're a millennial, as they call it. How do you have that same impact? How do you trust in yourself and believe in yourself to move forward when you don't even know who you are or where you're going? That's something that I want to talk about today. And the next guest that I'm bringing on to the show, she is someone who considers herself the voice for the millennials. So I'm very, very excited to have her on. But before we get into the interview, I just want to share my thoughts on just when you're in that young age, when you're in high school, when you're in college, maintaining that position as a game changer, even though you're still trying to figure out yourself, even though you're still trying to establish your career, you might even still be trying to get into college or into that high school that you want to go to, or in that career you haven't even started yet. So how do you do that? One of the tips that I'll give, one of the most obvious one, is confidence. You have to believe in yourself no matter what the circumstances or your physical limitations or your past, no matter what city you're from, whether it's a podunk town or a big city. You have to trust in your abilities. You have to trust in your knowledge. You have to trust in your vision, and you have to push it forward. And know that even when times get tough, even when things look bad, even when circumstances are unbearable, that you can still believe in your abilities and the things that you've been through before, and you can push forward, knowing that everything will come together. And so for all my young game changers out there, I challenge you to continue to push forward and continue to surround yourself with other game changers. That's the next tip. It's who you surround yourself with. Who's on your team? Who do you rock with? Who do you share your ideas with? All those things matter, especially when you're in that young age. And so our next guest has an amazing book where she's going to share with you. And it really just expands on some of the tips and the knowledge that I just spoke on. So hope you enjoy this interview, and I hope it inspires you and encourages you. I want to take the opportunity to welcome the next guest to the Game Changer Podcast. This amazing individual is so many things, but really she epitomizes what it means to be a game changer for millennials. And she has so many different titles. She's an author, and her book is entitled Her 20-Somethings, and it's a guide to help young women transition from pain to purpose. She's a speaker. She's also a co-founder of the Her Foundation. She's a leader, influencer for so many people, and most of all, she's a game changer. So I'm just blessed and honored that she took the time to just grace me with her presence, because I know she has a million things going on. She's a lot like myself in the fact that she's always, just doing amazing things and always putting herself out there and just moving forward. She really, really inspires me. So without any further ado, I would like to welcome the voice of the Millennials, none other than Zakiyrah Ficklin. Zakiyra, how you doing?
I'm doing amazing. That was quite an intro. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I got to give, honor and credit where credit is due. So thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. I'm just trying to get like Rennie.
Oh, nah. I'm trying to get like you. You're a boss. So I got a lot of respect for you and your family. I've been keeping up with you, what you're doing on Instagram and social media as a whole, and just to see your brand and how you're using your platform to inspire others is just amazing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, and I really just wanted to spend some time just diving deep into your story because I feel like a lot of people, especially the young females out there, need to know about you, need to hear about the things that you're doing. So I want to know first and foremost, just kind of your story and what inspired you to do the things that you do. What's your foundation?
Yeah, so the inspiration behind writing the book
Hmm.
was that, of course, I wanted to create a guide for young women to kind of help them get through those obstacles or pain points, brokenness in their lives,
Yeah,
so that they can begin walking in their purpose. It was really near and dear to my heart because as I was growing up, I was very closed in. I didn't like sharing things with people.
yeah,
I held everything inside, and that caused me to go through a depression period. I hated writing, so I didn't really journal,
mm,
and I didn't really want to deal with my problems head on. So I was stagnant for a very long time.
yeah,
And that's why I wanted to create the guide because there's so many other young women out there who
mm,
go through the same things that I went through or who are going through the same things that I've gone through. And I wanted them to know that it's not the end. Like there's purpose in your pain.
yeah.
And if you just push through it, you'll reach it. So that was really what inspired me to write the book.
Yeah, that's amazing that you share that. And I think for so many people in this world who do amazing things, I think one of the key things that you touched on is that compassion and that empathy, realizing that what you're going through is not only just for you, but it's for somebody else to be able to learn from and grow from. So that's just a powerful thing to hear that you sharing about what inspired you to do that. And I would love to know just kind of your beginnings, your family, growing up. What was that like? What kind of led to that moments and some of those inspirations that you put in your book?
Yes, we were kind of like, the average middle class family.
Mm,
My parents actually divorced when I was younger, so
mm,
that kind of played a role in my pain and brokenness and stuff that I never really dealt with. We went through the whole thing where we lived in and out of hotels for a while, and
wow.
we had to take baths without hot water, so we would literally have to those eyes that you plug in to make the stove come on. We had to use
Mm,
those, boil water, pour it in the tub, add the water in there. So it was just like the childhood that I
yeah.
had mixed in with not really dealing with stuff and liking to talk about it and everything like that. It was just a lot on me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's kind of how I grew up. The relationship with my father wasn't great at all. I used to resent my father a lot, and I blamed him for a lot of the stuff that we went through.
Mm,
But I had to learn that, and I talk about it in my book, there's an expiration date on blaming the past.
yeah.
A lot of times we blame people for the things that they've done to us. We blame our circumstances, and we play the victim role.
Yeah.
And people get tired of you playing the victim in situations a lot.
Yeah.
And you kind of just have to chalk it up and move forward. And for me personally, my father is one of my best friends now,
Mm,
but that's something that we had to grow into.
yeah.
So for me, I had to take a step back and really put my big girl panties on and say,
Mm,
my father did the best he could. I had to put myself in his shoes. He didn't know
mm,
how to be a father. His father was an alcoholic,
wow.
and he wasn't a father to him. So
Mm,
he didn't know how to be a father. He wasn't really shown that love, and fatherhood doesn't come with a guide.
yep.
So I had to really just forgive him for the lies and me not being able to trust him and not being there when I needed him. I had to
Mm,
really just let that go. I wanted that relationship so bad. I was
yeah.
just so dead on, really just trying to fix it.
Mm,
So as my father started developing to who God called him to be, our relationship was able to grow as well.
yeah. That is so awesome to hear you share that. I mean, and I think you touched on something that so many people deal with. Just like you said, continue to whether hold on to their past and let go of it, or even some people may move on from their past, but they may never forget that person, like you shared. So, it's
Right.
yeah,
And forgiveness is key.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
you gotta forgive.
Yeah, I mean, I come from a very similar situation. My father didn't meet his father till he was 24, so a lot of things he
Wow.
did, yeah, I didn't even understand until I was older and I could, like you said, put myself in his shoes and just really just forgive him and just understand where he had to come from to get to where he is now is a lot further than where I had to go to get where I am now, if that makes sense. So.
Definitely. I think as humans, we're so selfish a lot of times, and we're so caught up in how we feel, or I feel this way, they did this to me, that we don't really, get a chance to put ourselves in someone else's shoes and figure out why. Like a lot of times the reasons why people do the things that they do, there's a reason behind it. It's either something that happened to them a long time ago, or, the way that they're treated now, or they don't know how to love, or they don't know how to communicate.
Yeah.
So I think it's everybody just really starts to focus and try to understand people's reasoning and, the reason why they do the things they do. I think it'll be a lot better.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it's so, like you said, it's so easy for us to write each other off and just think like, oh, that's just the way they are, or whatever it is, not knowing, like you said, there's a root, to everybody, a lot of people's actions and the way that they respond to things. So that's really, really powerful. And as I look at you and I look at your brand now, the grit that you have, I flash back to a moment. I don't even know if you remember this, but we went to like a lounge with a group of friends, and like you were in there grinding, selling your book, like in the middle of the lounge.
I remember
it. Yeah, I was just like, damn, this girl is different right here. Like she got that hustle mentality, and I totally understand it now that you tell your story. Like that's why I love to ask about people's foundation and their family life and what it was like growing up, because it just seems like people who come from those tough backgrounds or like humble beginnings, they just have a different type of grind. So could you share about that?
Yeah, I feel like entrepreneurship grind has always been instilled in me.
Yeah.
But I didn't really activate it until recently, or a couple years ago. And I think I get my grind from my father. My father is like diehard grind, and he's always taught me that you eat what you kill. So if you don't kill anything, you don't eat. So for me, I just take pride in the platform that I do have, and my goal is to inspire millions of young ladies all over the world, and I can't do that if I don't grind.
Yeah.
So literally, I'm at the gas station selling books. I'm in my Uber selling books, at the lounge selling books, like restaurants, grocery stores. Literally, I have books on me everywhere I go. Wow. Wherever you catch me, you can get a book.
Yeah, no, that's...
So it's just...
Man. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, so it's just, like if I don't sell books, I can't really impact, young women. And for me, it's not about really just selling a book.
Yeah.
It's more about selling the story. Yeah. And I want it to touch somebody and influence someone. So that's why I grind so hard. And, my why is my family.
Yeah. Now that's so refreshing to hear you.
Young girls that I mentor.
Yeah, that's so refreshing to hear you say that, because a lot of people don't look at like their story and their product or their job that way, that like it's almost like it's a burden, like they have to get it out there, not for the money or not for the the admiration that comes with it, but the fact that and you trust that your story or whatever you have will impact somebody. I mean, that's an awesome way to look at life, and just great way to go about doing what you do. I think if anybody takes on that type of mentality, they'll be successful in whatever they do.
Definitely.
Yeah. And the next question I have for you, like, what was that? Because it's so easy in our 20s, I feel like, to just get caught up in whatever is kind of going on, what the trends are, and just trying to survive, like just trying to get a degree or whatever it is. So what was that like game-changing light bulb moment where you were inspired to just do more and to not just be like the everyday person or just another statistic?
Right. I think for me, I've always wanted to be different.
Yeah.
But the way that the world is set up now is so any little thing can influence you. So what I like to say now is stop letting the world set a pace for you. Because a lot of times we go on social media and we see people moving and shaking.
Yep.
And a lot of times they had to go through hell and high waters just to get to where they are now, one.
Right.
Or two, it's a facade.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like you can't really look at the next person to say, you know, this is where I want to be or this is where I see myself. You kind of have to just stay in your lane.
Yep.
And for me, my like background is serving. Like I really just authentically just love to serve. I love to give. Like that's just how my heart is. That's how God created me. So my purpose is just to serve people. That's it. And then in the process of that, I literally just stay focused on my lane and what I have going on. And I don't worry about what the next person is doing or how can I get to where she is, because God designed everyone to get to where they're supposed to be with their own path. Everyone's not going to get to that destination the same way.
Yep.
There's multiple ways to get to where we're supposed to be.
Yep, you're exactly right, man. And you hit the point on the head that it's so easy to just compare yourself and to look at this person, that person, and what they're doing on social media. I mean, every time you go on there, somebody's posting a highlight of their life. And I always think about, like, what if a P. Diddy or a Oprah or whoever would have had a social media when they were in their 20s or when they were coming up? It's like,
right.
You know, it will look completely different than it does now. But we don't think about things that way, about how long it took for some of these people to build these empires that they have, and even what they have to do to on the day in and day out to maintain it, the stresses that they have and all the sacrifices that they have to make. And, you know, that's another thing that I always think about is that, you know, as you grow and as your brand grows and as your success grows, there's a trade-off and there's a cost to it. And that leads me into my next question. Like, what are some of the challenges that you have doing what you do? Because I know it's not all just rosy and great and empowering all the time.
No,
like,
no.
Yeah.
I would say balance. And what I mean by balance is a lot of times when we're in the positions that we're in, we don't really take time for ourselves.
Yeah.
It's always like move. And I really struggle with actually taking time for myself. So I'll run myself, you know, deep, and then I'll get so tired and stressed because I haven't taken time for myself. So that's one of the things that I struggle with a lot. And then also right now I'm doing so many different things. I actually still work a full-time job.
Wow.
I'm getting my master's degree right now. I have the book, and I'm a full-time entrepreneur as well. So I have the nonprofit, and it's just kind of hard to balance everything at one time. So that's a struggle as well.
Yeah, wow. And you full-time job and getting your back. Like, that's why I say you a beast. Like, that's crazy. That's really, really crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. I really, really commend you for all that you do. And I mean, you make it look easy. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I never would have guessed all that. But you know,
Thank you.
yeah, you're definitely built for it, and it'll make you stronger in the end, I believe. And just with that being said, like, what are some of the things that you do just to kind of take a step back and reevaluate and maybe bounce back, regain your mental toughness or your composure when you do get stressed out?
Yeah, so sometimes I have to take social media detoxes. So like you may see me take, 5 days here, 7 days here to kind of, step away from social media so I have more time to do the things that I need to do and for myself.
Yeah.
So a lot of people don't realize that when you're on social media, it really takes away a lot of time.
Oh,
like
yeah.
I did a study and literally I would be spending hours on social media. But when I do my detoxes, it's like I get so much more stuff done. So just that, and then I'm a big family person. So, one of my top values are family. Any chance I get, I'm, hanging out with my nieces and nephews and my family. So that's another big thing for me. If I'm ever stressed out or feeling down, if I just get around my family, I'm good.
Yeah. That's great to hear. One of the things that stuck out to me about what you said was your values. And man, that's so important that you know your values and you know those things that at the end of the day, when you take away the success, the money, and all that, you know what truly matters most in life. And I feel like so many people get that mixed up. They value their job or they value money more than, their family. And so and when it's like that, it's like no money is ever enough. All these temporary things are never enough. And it's always like, your emotions are going up and down based off of how much money you have. But think something like family, you'll always be happy around them. So I appreciate you sharing that.
Definitely, definitely. Thank you. Yeah, a lot of that other stuff, it doesn't last. It's just,
Mm-hmm.
you know, temporary, like you said.
Yeah, yeah. And the other question I have for you is kind of what, through all that you've been through so far, and with all the things that you do with your foundation, with your book, and the impact that you have, what are some of the things that you've learned about leadership?
Mm. That you have to be a servant in order
Mm,
to be a leader.
yeah.
Um, you have to watch what you do. As a leader, there's so many different people watching you, and I I can attest to that because there's so many people that reach out to me and say,
Mm,
"Oh my God, you inspire me. I love what you're doing. You're very classy. You do this," and I'm like, "Wow!" Like
yeah.
I feel like I can't just do anything because there's so many different people watching me
Mm-hmm.
and watching me for their next move.
Yeah.
Um, so I just feel like leadership, you have to learn to be a servant. You have to be a giver. You have to be willing to do things that other people won't do.
Yeah.
So that's some of the things that I've learned.
Wow. Now that's a great point. And like you said, service is definitely where it starts, just giving and just, being selfless and all those things. And you definitely represent that. I mean, I can't imagine how many young girls just look up to you. And the crazy thing about it is just by you being yourself, like you just showing up to somewhere or just like posting a pic and the way that you present yourself, like I feel like that's leadership alone, just like your image and what you represent. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Because we can
Mhm.
kind of like sensationalize what leadership is and just we got to do this and that. But like the fact that you just carry yourself in a classy way, like that makes a statement in itself. Um, so yeah, I really, really appreciate that about you. And the other thing I wanted to ask too was,
Thank you.
yeah. The other thing I want to ask too is for any, young female or just anybody out there who's trying to kind of go in this same career path of being an entrepreneur, what would you suggest to them, or what piece of advice would you give to them?
Mm, so for anybody interested in starting a nonprofit or becoming an author or speaker, I think I would say fall in love with the commitment.
Mm,
A lot of times people are interested
yeah.
in becoming an author or becoming a speaker or becoming an entrepreneur because they see everybody else doing it, but they're
Hmm.
not committed to it. And the worst thing you can do is start something because you're interested in it. And then when the tough times come, or, when you're having that writer's block, or when you can't figure out what to talk about in front of a room full of people, you
Hmm.
get frustrated and you don't want to do it anymore because you're not committed to it.
Yeah.
So I would just say get committed and make sure it's what you want to do, because when you become committed, nothing will stop you from reaching that goal that you have.
Yeah. That's a great point. Great point. I'm sure, like, like, how many people do you get asked, like, oh, how do I write a book or how do I become a speaker? I'm sure it's like 5 or 10 every week, huh?
Oh yeah, I get a lot of people that ask, but with me, I'm very open. So
Yeah.
like, I'll send people the information that they need. Like, I'll send them who I go through to print my books.
Hmm.
I'll tell them how much it is. I'll send them the editor who I use. I'm like an open book.
Yeah.
So I just like for people to stay committed to the craft, especially if it's something that you want to do. But a
Hmm.
lot of times people are just interested in it.
Yep. Yep. You're exactly right. I mean, I can't tell you how many on my end as well too. Just how many people I basically like lay everything out for them, but it's rare that people actually have the discipline and, like you said, the commitment to actually stick things through and take it from idea to reality. So that's definitely a great point. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and the next question I have for you is aligned with the theme of the show. It's called the Game Changer Podcast, and so I want to know. You can get as deep as you want, but what does being a game changer? What does being a game changer mean to you?
Ooh, I love the word game changer. It's like real. It's almost like it shows status, but in a good way. It's like purpose,
Mm-hmm.
purpose blown up. But game changer to me, it has everything to do with standing out
Yeah.
and not being your environment. A game changer is somebody who can literally take the last bit of what they have and pour it into somebody else. And that doesn't have to be finances, but that could be information, knowledge. Like that can be you being so tired, but there's somebody out there that needs a word from you, and you're just pouring and pouring and serving and giving. A game changer is somebody who can literally walk in a room and, you know, command attention without even saying a word. And that's what it means to me, just showing leadership. Like I said before, not letting the world set a pace for you, but just being your own person and being influential in your own way.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I appreciate that. That's good stuff. That's one of the best answers I've heard. And I got another deep question. I got another deep question for
Another
you.
question.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so like this is super deep, but all right, so
Okay.
don't be scared. Don't be scared. It's not gonna be nothing too crazy, but so what do you want the world to do differently because you were here? Because Zakiyrah Ficklin was a part of the world. What do you want? How do you want people to be changed by you?
Yep, that's deep.
Right?
Okay. So how do I want the world to be changed by me? I want people to start believing in themselves, believing that they can walk into their purpose that God called them to do. I think a lot of times we get so scared and we start talking ourselves off of the ledge, you know, when things happen that kind of deter us from the path that we're going on. And I think if through my story and, you know, just the content that I share, I want people to know that, you know, there's beauty in brokenness. There's story in your pain. And I always tell people that when you don't share your story, you're taking away the healing of other people. There's so many young ladies who have been abused or, you know, they just go through so many different things and they don't share it. But it's so imperative to share the things that you've gone through. Just men have gone through being alcoholics and, you know, drug dealers and all of this different stuff. And people don't like to share those things because people don't like to share those things. And I think it's so imperative that you do that because there's somebody out there who's gone through the exact same thing. And when you don't do it, they're not being healed.
You're right.
So yeah, if I could just leave them with one thing, it would be believe in yourself and make sure you share your story because somebody else is waiting for you to heal them.
Yeah, that's powerful right there. I really appreciate that. And that's something that's a great perspective to have on just like you said, the pains that you go through, the adversities, is understanding that a lot of times it's for somebody else to grow from and to maybe even avoid. You know, I know a lot of the things I've learned about leadership and about what not to do is what I saw somebody else go through and growing from that. So that's a great point. I don't have any.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, I don't have any other powerful questions or deep questions. So
I'm like, wait a minute. Stop me. It's all good.
Oh man, yeah. So the next thing, of course, is how can the listeners out there in the world follow you and get in touch and book you to speak and purchase your book and all that good stuff?
Yes, so I can be reached. I'm on Instagram at Zakiyra. That's ZAKIYRAH. My website is Zakiyrah Ficklin. That's ZAKIYRAH FICKLIN.com. And I can be reached by email. I'm always on Instagram. So on Instagram, DM, anything.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate you coming on the show. You are a powerhouse, and I just see like so many amazing things in your future. Like I got no doubts that you're gonna continue to be a boss and really inspire so many different lives. And I hope that one day we can be able to do speaking engagements together. Who knows? You know. But
Definitely.
yeah, I'm really, really excited for you. And once again, just wish you continued success. And thank you so much for being on the show. And if there's ever any way that I can help you personally, like I'm always here. You know that.
Vice versa. Thank you for having me.
Definitely. Well, there it is. That was our game changer for the week. Speaker, author, leader, overall boss, Zakiyrah Ficklin. It was such an honor to have her on the show this week. One of the biggest things that I took away from her message was just the importance of sharing your story and your message and not being ashamed of it, and understanding that when you do try to paint that perfect picture, you do decide to withhold that information, you can actually be holding somebody else back from their own growth and from them going through their own process. So I really, really believe in that message. And just, yeah, thank you so much to her. If you're a millennial or a female who's trying to start a business or trying to better yourself and trying to figure things out, she is definitely somebody who you want to follow and someone who you want to reach out to via social media. She's a great person and will definitely, I'm sure, get back to you. But thank you so much for joining me on the Game Changer podcast. Once again, I'm always here for those of you all who need any type of support or help. I'm a speaker. I'm a life and business coach. I'm an author as well. So if I can help you in any one of those areas, feel free to reach out to me through my website, renniecurran.com, or just connect with me through Instagram. I'm doing a lot of great things, got a lot of great events coming up, and I'm looking forward to continuing to do this podcast and delivering even better content. You know, it's been about 8 weeks now, and I've been kind of getting the swing of things. So I apologize if these shows aren't the best, but I can guarantee you that it's going to continue to get better and better and better every single week. So just continue to rock with me. And once again, thank you so much for joining me on the Game Changer podcast. God bless.